You're on.
Thank you. All right. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this work session of the Chatham Conservation Commission being held via remote teleconference on Wednesday, April 1st, 2020, in accordance with the provisions of the Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and the Town of Wetlands Protection Bylaw, Chapter 272. My name is Janet Williams. I'm the chair of the Conservation Commission. I am announcing I am opening this work session at 3:03 p.m. Before we start today's session, there's several announcements that I need to make. First is the official town announcement for board and committee meetings. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the Open Meeting Law, General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 18, and the Governor's March 23, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place, this meeting of the Chatham Conservation Commission is being conducted via remote participation. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings as provided for in the order. This is a reminder that persons who would like to listen to this meeting while it's in progress may do so by calling the phone number that is displayed on the screen and the conference ID number that is also displayed on the screen. It'll be displayed there throughout this session. The agenda for today's session and copies of all documents that will be reviewed today are posted on the town website in the same place where the meetings and the agenda for the Conservation Commission are located. You will find all the information in the documents there. I will now ask all participants and callers to please mute yourselves. If you're on the phone, mute that. If you are on the platform, the Teams meeting site, look for the icon of the little microphone and click it. You'll see it change to indicate that it has been muted. Also, I ask that everybody who's accessing this meeting online to please turn off your computer's camera. You can do that on the platform by finding the little icon of the movie camera, click that, and you'll see that it's off. As we go through each of the orders today, I'll be asking for comments and questions from all participants, starting with the commission members. Then I will ask for public comment. We ask that you please wait, and then you may unmute yourself when it is your turn to speak. Please start by stating your name and the last 4 digits of your phone number. Then you may ask your question or make your comment. Please note that we would ask that all comments be limited to 3 minutes. Despite all the efforts we are making, we may not be able to provide for real-time access for everybody who would wish to participate. So we are posting a recording of this meeting on the town's website as soon as possible. A couple of changes to note in the way that we're going to move through this today. This is for the commissioners. Please remember that all motions for approval must be made by a commissioner first stating his or her name and then state your motion. In the same way, a second to motions must also be made by stating your name and stating that you're seconding the motion. After motions and seconds are made, all votes will be made by roll call. I will call on each commissioner. Please unmute yourself, state your vote, and then go back to being muted. So that we may have a record of the quorum of the commissions attending today, I'm going to start by asking each commission member to indicate their presence on this call by stating their name and stating present. I'm going to remind, everybody, I'll be reminding throughout the session today to mute yourselves because we'll be turning it off and on, and we won't always remember to turn it off. So please make sure you are muted because I'm getting some feedback now. Okay, roll call for commissioners. Commissioner Holt.
Commissioner Holt is here.
Thank you. Commissioner Kitts.
Commissioner Kitts present.
Thank you. Commissioner Rawls.
Commissioner Rawls present.
Thank you. Commissioner Del Vecchio.
Commissioner Del Vecchio present.
Thank you. Commissioner Clark.
Commissioner Clark present.
Thank you. All right. We have a full complement of commissioners for this meeting today. And And with that and the announcements out of the way, I think we'll go to our first item on the agenda.
Okay, amendments to orders of conditions, 85 Cedar Street, Charles and Mary Preusse, CWP 19-136N. This is the local only. Proposed replacement of the approved patio with a deck, reconfiguration of the walkway and patio, landscape improvements at 85 Cedar Street, Assessor's Map 13C, Parcel 14.
Thank you, Callie. As a reminder to all members of the commission, these documents are available both in the Dropbox, and you can also download them from the town website. I assume everybody has done that and has a copy of it. The way we will work through this is I will call on each of you in turn and ask you to provide any questions or comments you may have on this. And then we will, when it's your turn to speak, you may be able to respond to a comment made by somebody else. We will try to just move through this as in an organized fashion as possible. So with that, I will call on Commissioner Holt to provide any comments, questions, edits about this particular amendment.
Dee Dee here. No, I think the only thing we were waiting for, according to my notes, was a new plan, which we received, so I had nothing further.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Kitts?
No comments.
Thank you. Thank you. Commissioner Walls?
No comments.
Thank you. Commissioner Delvecchio?
No changes, no comment.
Great, thank you. Commissioner Clark?
No comments.
Okay, thank you. I think that reflects the straightforwardness of this minor amendment to the order of conditions. And with Callie, do you have anything to add or to this?
Nope, no comments.
All right, then I will ask for somebody to make a motion to close.
Dee Dee Holt, I move we close the hearing.
Thank
Joe
you. Is there-
Kitts, I second.
Thank you. I'll do a roll call of the vote to close. So, Ms. Holt,
Vote aye.
Mr. Kitts,
Aye.
Mr. Walls,
Aye.
Mr. Delvecchio,
Aye.
Mr. Clark,
No.
no? I'm sorry, Mr. Clark, can you repeat this is the motion to close.
Oh, I'm sorry. Just to close? My
Yeah.
apologies.
That's okay.
Yeah, I approve.
Okay,
Yes,
thank you.
aye.
And I also vote aye to close, making that unanimous. Do we have a motion then to approve the amendment?
So moved.
By Mr. Kitts. Thank you, Mr. Kitts. Is there a second?
Sorry.
Okay, we're going to get used to.
Dee Dee Holt, second.
Thank you. Roll call. Ms. Holt,
Aye.
Mr. Kitts,
Aye.
Mr. Rawls,
Aye.
Mr. Delvecchio,
Aye.
Mr. Clark. Mr. Clark, are you there? Did we lose him?
I can't actually tell because he's calling in.
I can see. His number is still showing, so I think he's on the line. Tom, are you on the line still?
Let's try this.
There
How's that
you
work?
are. Yes, now I hear you.
My apologies. I vote no.
Okay. I vote aye, so that makes the vote 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 0. Motion passes.
Are we
Okay.
ready for the next agenda item?
Yep.
Okay. This is orders of conditions, Parcel 2, also known as 0 Nantucket Drive, Bucks Creek Association, care of James O'Connell, SE 103397. Proposal to put controls in place to monitor the condition of the marsh and allow restoration plantings to be installed as necessary, plantings to be monitored and augmented as necessary to achieve the desired success rate at Parcel 2, also known as 0 Nantucket Drive, Assessor's Map 6B, Parcel 2, This project was continued from a previous work session pending receipt of a comment letter from NHESP, and to date, that letter still has not been received.
Okay, thank you. We have seen some email correspondence between National Heritage and the applicant indicating that they were working on a letter, but they were not, National Heritage had no confidence that they would get it out in time. They have not. We will continue this matter. Since we must continue to a date certain, it's my suggestion that we put that date certain at April 22nd to that hearing date, with the proviso that the motion is to continue to the first hearing date after we receive the letter from National Heritage, or April 22nd, whichever comes first. Does that make sense? Is there somebody who's willing to make that motion?
Well, I'll say so moved.
Okay, thank
This is
you.
Dee Dee.
Works.
This is Dee Dee.
Yes,
And I'll second that. Joe Kitts.
thank you. So roll call on the vote to continue. Ms. Holt?
Votes aye.
Mr. Kitts?
Aye.
Mr. Rawls?
Aye.
Mr. Del Vecchio?
Aye.
Mr. Clark?
Aye, sorry.
Okay, thank you. All right, and I vote aye as well, so that's unanimous to continue it to the next hearing date after we receive the letter, or April 22nd, whichever comes first.
Okay,
Thank you.
may I move on to the next agenda item?
Yes, off we go to the next one. Yep.
Okay. 15 Cove Hill Circle, Richard and Juliana Quinn, SE 103386. Proposed demolition and reconstruction of dwelling, construction of a swimming pool at 15 Cove Hill Circle, Assessor's Map 13J, Parcel G9.
Thank you. This is an order that we looked at once before. We continued it to provide some language with respect to the existing house. Dwelling is a pre-1978 house, and the replacement dwelling will also be eligible for the statutory and regulatory exception regarding pre-78 structures. That was included as both a finding and a special condition. And I think those are the only substantive changes that were made to it after the last time we reviewed this at the previous work session. So with that,
Madam Chair,
yes,
this is Bill Riley on behalf of the Quinns.
yes,
For whatever it's worth, I reviewed the draft order, and I think the changes you made are appropriate, and we have no objection to the order as drafted.
okay, thank you for that. Let me go through the commission and see if anybody has other comments or changes or edits. Ms. Holt?
Yes, I have one thing I wanted to bring up, and that is the limit of work.
Yes.
The limit of work shown on the plan, I realized as I was going through this, runs right through almost the center of the area that is designated as a restriction.
Yep.
And that makes no sense, because that could potentially damage the area that we have set aside as a property or conservation restriction, so that it will remain in its natural wild state. So I would like to see if we can get a plan showing that limit of work circumventing the area that is to be set aside under the restriction.
Okay, yeah, my sense is that limit of work was put in place before the conservation area was defined. Mr. Clark is with us on the platform today. David, would it be possible to put in a provision would it be possible for you to redo the site plan to move the limit of work to the outside of the restricted area?
Ask him to unmute his phone.
I might be, I might be able to unmute him. No, I can't.
Yeah, David, unmute your phone, please.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yes, we can make that change. Keep in mind that a portion of the existing septic system is within the conservation easement, so that area will be restored naturally after it's removed, unless the
Okay.
commission is fine with just abandoning it in place.
Unless the commission is fine with what? Repeat that.
Abandoning it in place,
Abandoning the
septic components in place,
Oh.
because they're subsurface, so you have a choice of either to remove them or leave them where they are and not disturb the ground above it.
Right, but the plan was to remove them, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. I think my sense, and I'll ask others to join me to jump in on this, is that having them removed is probably the best way to go, so long as it's restored and then allowed to naturalize. What I can do is put in just a requirement in the special conditions that we'll get a plan that moves the limit of work, and that the area will be restored after the septic removal is completed. Does anybody have a comment to make about that approach?
Well, Dee Dee,
Yeah.
just that wherever the limit of work is set for the septic, once the septic is done and it's restored, that limit of work is then moved. I don't know what the sequence of construction are, at what point the septic system is done, but I'd like to see that once before it's complete, before it's done, the limit of work is set so that they're not allowed to go beyond that. And then when it's done, the same thing, the limit of work to be reset.
I understand the concern. So David, do you have any sense about where the removal of the septic system would fall in the sequence, or?
David Clark, I think you have a condition already that when the retaining wall is removed out by the top of the bank, that work limit be moved closer to the building.
Yep.
You could have a similar condition that during the demolition of the structure, the septic system will be removed, and then the work limit will be reset closer to the house.
Okay.
Outside the restriction area.
Yep. Okay. We can do that. All right.
This is Dee Dee. I had one other thing.
Yes.
We're referring to the restriction as a conservation restriction, and Bill can probably comment on this as well, that it technically isn't, it's not a restriction that has to be sent up to the state and all of that. And I also noticed in one or two places we called it a property restriction. So just so that we're clear on the terminology we're using.
I thought I didn't see property restriction. I'll look again. It is you're correct. It's not a conservation restriction in the way that it is sometimes understood, with a much more formal process that involves EEA. It's just a set aside, and as it speaks to that the area is conserved in a natural state, with the exception of the twice a year mowing. And I noticed, I will say that on the draft restriction that Bill supplied, it's only called a restriction, but the site plan referred to it as a conservation restriction, which is why we picked up that language.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
So Bill Riley, I'm happy to call it a conservation restriction. I mean, the point that both you and Dee Dee were making is the fact that it's not a conservation restriction. It's not a statutory conservation restriction.
Right.
But I mean, I don't mind referring to it as a conservation restriction, because. So if you'd like me to make that change, I'm happy to do it.
Okay, that's fine. We can make it consistent throughout the site plan, the documents, and the restriction itself. And I think it's an appropriate name because it is just an area that's being restricted for conservation purposes, but not statutory.
Right.
Okay. we're good.
Dee Dee, one last time.
Yep.
Check out finding number 12, the new 12. I think that's where property is used instead of conservation.
Okay. Let me,
Paragraph beginning overall.
I see it. I got it. Okay. Yep. Thank you for that. Anything else, Dee Dee?
No, that was it. Thank you.
All right. Mr. Kitts, any questions or comments on this?
No, Dee Dee covered it very nicely. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Rawls, anything?
Yes, I have one question on special condition 2.
Mm-hmm.
Would there be a way for us to verify that it's constructed in such a fashion? And if there's no way to verify it, can we make it a special condition?
I think it's an interesting question in general, in terms of conditions and the ability of the commission to verify whether they are all complied with. In this case, it's actually in the interest of the homeowner to comply with this, to build it so that they are not connected, so that if the patio or the pool are ever in a situation where they're threatened by some instability on the bank, it doesn't then threaten the house in turn, which is what that was trying to get to. And I think that given that it's completely in their interest to do that, they will do that.
Yeah, I agree. They are more likely to do it. Just looking at Callie, closing out the OCs eventually, whether or not she knows one way or another. But
she'd have to go and she'd have to do a site inspection to look at it, to see whether there's a physical connection between the house and the terrace and the pool that cannot be separated. It's only meant to keep them separated.
Can we add some language about that? This is Callie.
Yeah.
I also, just maybe to that point, that maybe special condition number 2 should be an ongoing condition.
Yep. How would you like to address the verification issue, Callie? Are you willing to do to go on site to look at it once the construction is complete, or?
I think I should go on site to verify, but I think there should be some sort of letter from either from the contractor that did the work or for the engineer that was involved with the project that states that special condition number 2 is adhered to.
This is Commissioner Clark. I have a comment.
Yes.
We should also, besides the letter, get photographs of the septic tank, and I assume the drainage field also. That is the distribution aspect of the drainage field being removed.
Madam Chair, Bill Riley, with respect to Commissioner Clark's request, this is when they remove a septic system, and our engineer, David Clark, has to certify to the Board of Health that it's been removed. I hardly think pictures are necessary.
Commissioner Clark, are you satisfied by the certification that's provided in terms of the completeness of the removal of the septic system? Do you want a copy of that?
Normally, I would insist on the pictures, but I think under the circumstances that the other Mr. Clark's certification will be sufficient.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Yep. Okay, anything else from any commissioners?
Janet, on On the order of conditions, vegetation,
Sorry, Bob, I'm just going to, Bob Rawls is speaking. Just
Oh, okay.
remind you to introduce yourself. Go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, I have a quibble with finding number 3. And I think you'll recall the discussion that I initiated on that. And I would be happy to have some language put in there to the effect that the trees would need to be removed for the alternative only if the view were considered essential, which can be argued.
Mhm.
So this is just it's a procedural matter for me.
Would the insertion of the word arguably require? Well, I mean, that is the assertion that the applicant has made, and you, not unreasonably, find that assertion to be something that can be argued with.
Absolutely.
Okay. Got that. I'm sorry, Bob Delvecchio, you were starting to speak?
yes, Bob Delvecchio here. On the order of conditions, vegetation, landscaping, and mitigation planting. C, number 3, it says mitigation care over multiple growing seasons. Shouldn't it read mitigation care over at least 3 growing seasons? Multiple could only mean 2.
Okay, I'll put at least 3. Yep. Okay,
That's all I have.
thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone
Madam
else?
Chair,
Yes, Mr. Clark.
Commissioner Clark, the dialogue we just had a moment ago led me to realize something. We've called it removal of the septic system or the septic tank, but I certainly would like the piping related to the drainage field to also be removed. I just want to make sure that's explicitly covered.
Okay, so we could specify all components of the existing septic system.
That would be excellent. Yes,
Okay.
I concur.
I got that. Thank you.
Janet, I have
Okay.
one comment.
Yes, Callie.
You ready?
Yep.
This question is through you to David Clark, and I apologize. I'm having trouble electronically pulling up the plan. For the removal of the septic system that's in the conservation restricted area, will that removal require any additional removal of trees, or is it just ground cover? That's a question for David Clark.
All right, Mr. Clark,
David Clark here. Just ground cover. The septic system is relatively new, so it's just ground cover that's been reestablished over it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anything else from the commission on this? Hearing nothing, anything from any other participants or member of the public who has joined us? All right, I think then we are ready to entertain a motion to close.
Commissioner Holt, I move we close.
Thank you. Is there a second?
This is Kitts, second.
Thank you very much. Roll call for a motion to close. Ms. Holt?
Votes aye.
Mr. Kitts? Mr. Kitts? We'll come back to him. Mr. Rawls?
Aye.
Mr. Delvecchio?
Aye.
Mr. Clark?
Aye.
The chair votes aye. Mr. Kitts, are you there? Joe, are you muted, unmuted? He is muted. All right, well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5, 0, and 1 non-participant then to that vote to close. And with that, is there a motion then to approve the order of conditions as amended at the work session?
Commissioner Holt, motion to approve the order of conditions as discussed at this meeting.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Commissioner Rawls, I second.
Thank you. Roll call vote on the motion to approve the order of conditions. Ms. Holt?
Votes aye.
Mr. Kitts? He seems to have had a problem with his audio. We'll come back. Mr. Rawls?
Aye.
Mr. Delvecchio?
Aye.
Mr. Clark?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Mr. Kitts, are you back with us? Nope, not, problem with the audio is not resolved. Okay, well, the vote is still 5-0-0. Motion passes. All right, Callie, we're ready to move on to the next one.
Okay, orders of conditions, 28 Eel River Road, Jeffrey Lines, SE 10-3402, proposed installation of terrace with fire pit and grill, reconstruct new stairs over existing brick steps, remove existing gravel parking surface, install permeable concrete paver surface, proposed vista pruning at 28 Eel River Road, Assessor's Map 4C, Parcel 49A-MS3.
All right, thank you. Just as a quick procedural thing, I just want to check. Joe Kitts just texted that he was dropped. He's trying to reconnect. I'm looking to see if he is a participant yet. He's still trying. While we wait for him to rejoin. He's back. Joe, you're back?
Sorry, I'm back. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Great to hear you back. Just mute yourself and we'll move forward from here.
Yes, Madam Chairman, can you hear me? This is George Riley. Okay.
Yes, there you are.
So,
hello, glad to have you on here. Just hold on, we will be coming to you in a moment.
okay.
I will say, actually, I'll just kick it off and say that we had thought that there would be a revised site plan submitted before this work session.
I did submit such a revised plan.
Callie, did you receive anything?
I'm looking.
Okay. Mr. Roddy, is it the plan that shows the further consolidation of the mitigation area?
Yes, what was done was the area adjacent to the terrace that you felt were too close to human habitation.
Yep.
And we've increased the area down along the bank by the house and to compensate for that.
Okay, well, that's exactly what we were looking for. And I'll just save some time here by saying that that's what we put that in as a condition of the order, that you would submit a site plan that has exactly that on it. So Callie will have a chance to look at that after this meeting, and that condition will be satisfied then. Callie.
We did receive a revised site plan February 26th. That's what the plan at the revision date of that plan. So if that's the plan that Mr. Riley's talking about, then we're set.
All right, we'll take a look at it and make sure that what we have on record is what was described in this order. And we'll just make sure of all that. And if not, Callie will reach out to you and we'll discuss it more and make whatever change needs to be made so that the plan of record satisfies the description that's in this order.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Commissioner Holt here. I'm looking at a plan that says revised February 26, 2020, which I'm wondering if he is referring to this plan.
I haven't got anything in front of me here, so I don't know. But if that was when it was submitted, that was it. If the way you can tell is you can look to the area adjacent to the terrace, and if that's eliminated and the area is increased down below, that's the plan.
Okay. That actually wouldn't be the one, Mr. Riley. We had the hearing on the 11th of March, and during that hearing, we described that what we were looking for. So it would have come in sometime after March 11th. So this plan that was revised on the 26th is the one that did the initial consolidation of the mitigation areas that have been scattered.
All right.
Right, so this one is just indicating, as it says in the order of conditions, indicating the extra 250 approximate square feet that will be added to the area, the existing mitigation area that is contiguous, to make up for the piece that's going along.
That's correct, and
Okay.
I think the revised plan shows.
Okay.
Madam Chair, Holt, again, one other thing. The new plan that was also supposed to show that the damaged oak is not flush cut, but rather at a 14.
Right, but 15 feet, yes.
So that
I believe that's on there too.
Okay.
It's my recollection anyway.
Okay, because the one of the plan on the 26th of February still says flush cut.
Flush cut, right.
And so it's not flush cut. It's
No, it's 15 feet. I remember, specifying that to the surveyor to put on the plan, and I assume it's there. If not, we'll certainly do that.
okay. So
I think it needs to be on the plan. If the plan says to flush cut the tree, then, and the commission doesn't want the tree to be flush cut, the plan needs to say that the tree will be left with a 15-foot snag or whatever you've agreed upon.
Yeah, I think that's, my recollection is that the new plan shows that. But if it's not on there, we'll definitely put it on.
that's what the order of conditions is currently saying, is that before construction begins, we'll get a revised site plan showing the additional area and the snag at 14 to 15 feet.
All right. Well, I'll check that and I'll deliver it to the town hall tomorrow if there's a problem.
So to Mr. Riley, town hall was closed, so you'll have to email it to Mary and I.
Right. Oh, it is? What shall I do then? Shall I put it in that box out on the entryway, or?
You would put it in the box, and you'd also email it to Mary and I.
Okay. All right. We'll do.
All right. Thank you.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Mr. Clark.
I have a copy of a plan labeled as revised March 17th. And if it helps at all, the designation on the oak says damaged oak to be cut at 15 feet tall.
Great.
There you go. Thank you.
However, I did note one other omission that I thought we had discussed before, but perhaps I wasn't quite. Anyway, my impression was that Commissioner Holt had wanted to have certain plantings done right up against or very close to the existing house, between the area that is labeled as the prune existing oak, which is right on the property border, and a ramp or staircase going down to Taylor's Pond. And I don't, now I may be looking at the wrong plan, because all I have is the site plan, not a design plan related to all the plantings, but I don't see anything showing that those plantings that Commissioner Holt said wanted are in fact reflected on the drawing.
Commissioner Holt. Actually, I just found that same plan. I wasn't going to open that packet of stuff that was left there that you said don't open, but I opened it just now. And there is, risking who knows what, there is a revised, the one that Commissioner Clark is referring to, 3/17/2020. And he's right that it's been removed. The mitigation area has been removed from being adjacent to the terrace, but it is not adjacent to the mitigation area that's just north of the the concrete block wall, which is where I thought it was going to go. So I don't know where an additional 250 feet is. It looks pretty much like it.
I think the 250 was the area was extended down towards the stairway that goes on the bank. It was widened, and the area around the oak was made bigger. I didn't measure it, but the surveyor did and guaranteed that it was like the 250 square feet that I asked for. So I assume that that's correct, because he's verified.
This is Commissioner Holt. Can we then just say, since none of us have been to the site to see where this has been, area has been moved to, that, you know, the agent will have the, you know, the authority to make sure the mitigation plantings are put in areas where it will have the most value.
Okay, that's an excellent idea.
That's fine with me, as long as the square footage that you guys are requiring is very clear.
Okay.
Commissioner Holt, yeah, the plan says 700.
Yeah, 700 square feet.
Commissioner Holt, are you satisfied that with the square footage designation? Because I remember when we were out at the site that the area that you indicated at that time being of interest to you was more extensive than what is shown on the drawing.
Well, that's hard to tell without going back and actually, you know, measuring or going out on site. But I thought the biggest benefit would be turning more lawn into, you know, native plantings rather than continuing to put them down on the bank itself, but converting lawn into the mitigation area, which is just on the north side of that concrete block wall, proposed concrete block.
Right.
Okay, well, I will defer to your judgment on this matter.
And if I can leave that up to the agent rather than hold this up any further, I would do that.
Okay, is that okay with you, Callie?
Yeah, that's fine. It's a little bit worrisome that we don't have a digital, I don't have a digital copy of that revised plan from March. So I do need Mr. Riley to send that to me electronically. That's a requirement.
Yeah.
Right, we can leave it, Mr. Riley, as, please get that to Callie and to the rest of us, or she'll forward it to us tomorrow so that we can look at that and if there's any need to tweak or change any of the language in this order to reflect what that plan is showing, we'll let you know, but hopefully it will all come together.
Okay, good. I think that's fine.
Commissioner, one last time. If they do change, when Callie is on site and feels that it would be more beneficial to have the mitigation area where I thought he was going to add it, which is just to the north side of that concrete wall, still allowing a space for the property owner to walk, you know, have a walkway along the deck there. That he would submit another plan showing what the mitigation area really was. So it's like what is it?
Right. Well, I think the thing to do is to go over it with Kelly and decide how you mark it out, and then give you an as-built showing that plan. How's that?
I think that's a great idea. However, the commission is the decision maker here, so I'm happy to allow for some plans to be moved slightly around, but the general gist of things needs to be decided here, or there needs to be a provision in the order that allows the agent to kick it back to the commission for their review.
Well, I'm happy to leave the order as it is, which requires that the submission of a site plan showing this mitigation area located, as it says, just north of the block retaining wall running north to the limit of work, where it joins the mitigation and the already proposed and approved mitigation area. So it's clear enough in the order that that's what it's supposed to be. And if the last site plan that's been submitted does not show that, then Mr. Riley would make whatever changes so that it complies with this condition.
Excellent.
Okay. Okay. I'm just checking over here because it looks like Commissioner Kitts was dropped off again.
I'm back.
You're back. Sorry about the trouble you're having. That's frustrating. Okay. Other comments or questions on this order of conditions?
Mr. Del Vecchio here.
Yes.
On findings number 8, I believe that should include, there will be no invasive species removal on coastal bank.
Yep.
Correct.
And special conditions number 5 should include the existing oak tree on the western property line, which will also be pruned.
I'm sorry, which special condition are you? 8?
Special condition number 5
5.
should also include the existing oak tree on the western property line that will be pruned as well.
Okay, I saw that on the plan. Got it, thank you.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Bob Rawls, Commissioner Rawls, I have a
Yeah.
couple of things on
Yep.
special conditions. Special condition number 8.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's a little unclear. It says that kayaks stored upland. Does that mean outside of 0 to 100? Is that what we're talking about?
Yes, outside of any resource area.
Okay, maybe just to make that clear, since it's going to be an ongoing condition.
Mm-hmm.
And does that mean 365 days a year, or just in season, out of season? I mean,
Normally it's out of season because by use of the word stored. However, you're right. When people are using them, they are generally left closer to the water than out of the resource area.
Are we talking about the kayaks? No?
Yep.
Yeah. Mr. Lyon.
Uh-oh, I think we've lost them.
This is Commissioner Holt. I think one way to handle them during the season would be to just put them on the decking.
Yeah. Seasonally stored outside, and during the season stored on top of the deck. Or securely lashed to the stairway is there. Okay. To the stairway or on top of the deck. Okay.
and also number 9 mentions storage units for the first time, as best I can tell. So it's unclear what those are.
Commissioner Holt, what did you say, Bob?
Talking about special condition number 9.
It's actually 10 on Dee Dee's version, but it's okay.
Okay, well, the version I've got has got, the numbering is a bit garbled up, but whatever. It's the last, I guess it's the last one. Maybe, it's one referring to storage units.
Yep, it's the last one.
Right, there's actually a photo of the storage units in the file.
Okay, so are those storage units that are permanent storage units or temporary?
They're freestanding.
So they're always there?
They're those Rubbermaid type of ones, right?
Oh, I see.
They were wooden, as I recall, and they were sitting in the area that is now going to be a terrace.
Right.
And during the hearing, it was said that they were going to be moved under the deck.
Okay.
Okay, we'll just make it saying the existing storage units currently stored on the terrace will be moved under the deck. Okay,
Okay.
thank you. Other comments from commissioners? Mr. Riley, have you come back to us? Yes, he has. It's showing he's here, but okay. Are we ready then to close this? If there's no further comment or conversation?
Commissioner Holt moves that the hearing be closed.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Commissioner Kitts, second.
Thank you. Roll call for the motion to close. Mrs. Holt?
Votes aye.
Mr. Kitts?
Aye.
Mr. Rawls?
Aye.
Mr. Delvecchio?
Aye.
Mr. Clark?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, so unanimous to close. Is there a motion to approve the order of conditions as amended at the work session?
Commissioner Holt, so moved.
Thank
Commissioner
you.
Kitts, second.
Thank you. Roll call on the vote on the motion to approve the order. Ms. Holt?
Holt's aye.
Mr. Kitts?
Aye.
Mr. Rawls?
Aye.
Mr. Delvecchio?
Aye.
Mr. Clark?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, so it's a unanimous vote to approve the order as amended at the work session. Motion passes. Okay, ready to move to the next one, Callie?
174 Eastward Road, John P. and Jamie Seldorf, SE 103403. Proposed bulkhead repair and extension, proposed beach nourishment at 174 Eastward Road. Assessor's map 13M, parcel C53.
Thank you. Let me pull it up here. Okay.
I'm just gonna mention, Janet, that I think
Yep.
we have Don Monroe on the line. He's currently muted.
Okay. Oh, I see him. He's there. All right, Mr. Monroe, hang on a second. We'll get to you. Let me get comments and input from the commission on this. Let's start with Ms. Holt. Any questions, comments on this order of conditions?
I had some primarily just clarification in text or typos. Should I just, not many of them, should I just go through them?
Sure, why not? We'll
In the
just correct
project
the mis-
description, it says there is no dredging. Does that mean rather use of a dredge proposed?
Yeah, there is no dredging. This is Callie. There is no dredging with the project. It was identified that way in the project description numerous times because of the land under the ocean resource area that's affiliated with the project. So I just wanted to clarify that in the project description, but if you're uncomfortable with it, we can take it out.
No, I thought it was I guess a misstatement that there never was discussion of dredging, but there was discussion of whether or not they were going to need a dredge for the project. This is sort of finding number 4. It just says runoff from above and the height of the salt, the high salt environment, rather than due to. I mean, the runoff.
It says due to. Stormwater runoff from above due to the high salt environment have all contributed to the structural deterioration of the wall.
All right, that didn't make sense to me, but okay. And I thought just adding one more finding, which would be that the letters from Ted, Renee, and DMF, did not oppose the project but offered comment to protect the resource area.
Okay.
Something to that effect.
Yep. Yep, got it.
This is Callie. If we could just, there are sometimes when DMF adds some findings to their comment letter, so I'll probably add those in. But that letter is circulated the commission as well as all the representatives, so everyone's aware of those.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Dee Dee, anything else?
Number 12. Again, this is special condition number 12.
Okay.
In the copy I'm looking at anyway. No nourishment shall take place on the southern section of the project site that borders the soil to prevent further erosion in this area. No nourishment is taking place to prevent further erosion.
Yeah, that's what's in the proposal, and also came out in some of the discussion at the hearing that there has been some erosion in the area of the salt marsh.
But there's no nourishment proposed in that area.
Correct. No nourishment to prevent further erosion. That's what.
Oh, okay.
It probably should have been put. Right, that's mine. Probably should have put that.
Yeah, I just didn't understand that.
I'll take that out. No nourishment has been proposed, and no nourishment will take place in the salt marsh area.
Okay, and just one final thing. I had in my notes, and maybe someone can clarify this, that they were really just going to use 15 cubic yards of beach nourishment.
Okay, Mr. Monroe, this is time for you to unmute yourself. There was a few questions about the amount of fill in terms of both the nourishment that's going to be happening. It's my understanding that 15 cubic yards of fill is what is needed to fill any voids underneath the existing slab, which is going to be rebuilt. But there's another 1,000 cubic yards of nourishment is to be added in the areas located on the plan. Does that capture it correctly? Don, you need to unmute yourself, please.
Ryan or Mark, can you just remind everyone if you're calling in, how to unmute yourself?
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, there you are. We got it.
I'm sorry. I didn't. I was pushing my unmute button instead of *6. So.
Oh, you're on the phone.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't have a microphone on the computer, so I'm listening through the computer, but I'll talk through the phone.
Got it. Okay.
So yeah, the 15 yards is for the sand fill that we need under the slab, like you described, Chair. But the nourishment is, yes, 1,000 cubic yards, but it's mostly to the, I believe it's to the east, and we aren't placing any sand like Dee Dee cited in the southern area where the salt marsh is.
Okay.
So then special condition number 12 cannot be adhered to?
No, it can be. It says no nourishment to the southern section. We're not placing any sand over there because that's where the salt marsh is built up the best. So there's no reason for us to place any nourishment over there.
Right.
Oh, I see it. Sorry, you were going in and out. I get it.
Okay.
Okay, sorry.
Dee Dee, does that address your question?
Yes, that's, I get it. Thank you.
Okay. Do you have anything else,
All right.
Dee Dee?
I do not.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Kitts, any questions or comments?
No, my questions were answered. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rawls.
Yes, the finding number 8.
Yep.
And fourth line, shouldn't the word not be in front of permitted?
Can you read the sentence for me? Because my numbering I've been adding some.
All right, so it's the Chatham Wetlands Protection Regulations provide such and, this all sorts of things.
Yeah.
And the way it reads is permitted except as allowed, but I think it should be is not permitted except as allowed.
Yeah, I believe it probably started with a negative in the beginning that was not picked up here, but yes, you're good catch.
Okay. And the only other thing I had is under pre-construction conditions, the numbering needs to restart.
I can make that change.
Yeah, we'll fix that.
Okay, and that's all I have.
Thank you. Mr. Del Vecchio, questions or comments?
Yes, on special condition number 13, we're talking about the buffer strip. And on the OOC currently, it says 6-foot buffer strip. That should be changed to 10-foot buffer strip. We made that change at the meeting.
Yep, got that. Thank you very much. That's a good catch.
You're welcome. That's
Anything
all
else? Okay, Mr. Clark.
No changes.
Okay. Callie, any other comments or questions on this?
No comments or questions.
Okay. Mr. Monroe, anything from you? Or is it? *6. take that as a no then. All right, do we have a motion to close this then?
Commissioner Holt, move to close.
Thank you. Second?
Commissioner Kitts, second.
Thank you. Roll call on the motion to close. Ms. Holt?
Votes aye.
Mr. Kitts?
Aye.
Mr. Rawls?
Aye.
Mr. Delvecchio?
Aye.
Mr. Clark?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Unanimous vote to close. Is there a motion to approve the order of conditions as amended at the work session?
So moved. Oh, this is
moved.
Kitts, so moved.
Commissioner Holt, second.
Thank you. Roll call on the motion to approve. Ms. Holt?
Aye.
Mr. Kitts?
Aye.
Mr. Rawls?
Aye.
Mr. Delvecchio?
Aye.
Mr. Clark?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Unanimous vote to approve the order of conditions as amended at the work session. So motion passes. And that's
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Monroe. Callie, I think that takes us to the next item.
Okay. The violations for 108 Mill Hill Road, vegetation removal, regrading, and installation of dock-like structure in wetland resource area and adjacent upland resource area. Nothing has been received for this project. They had requested a continuance till March, and then we discussed it at the March 4th work session, that continuance, but unfortunately we didn't have a quorum to make that decision. And then I was out with the flu on the 11th, so it didn't really get pushed to the next agenda. So it's kind of in this limbo and nothing's been submitted. So my recommendation today to the commission is that you do continue this project again, and we'll just get it back on track. So would the commission be willing to continue this to April 22nd and have them submit something to us no later than April 8th?
I think that sounds reasonable. We need to get this getting back on track, as you said. So I would agree with that. Do we have a motion then to continue to the 22nd of April?
Commissioner Holt, so moved.
Thank you. A second?
Commissioner Kitts, second.
Roll call vote on the motion to continue. Ms. Holt?
Votes aye.
Mr. Kitts?
Aye.
Mr. Rawls?
I'm going to continue to abstain on this, and I'm a neighbor.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Mr. Delvecchio?
Aye.
Mr. Clark?
Abstain. It was before I was appointed.
Okay. Chair votes aye, so it's 4-0-2. Motion passes.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is 107 Taylor's Pond Road, tree removal in and within 100 feet of resource areas. I forwarded an email to the commission, and that was CC'd also to the analyst, Greg Cedar at DEP, and they've also asked for an extension for this project. Unfortunately, I'm a little bit tied up between my devices, so I can't actually see the email. I think it was requesting a continuance to the 22nd, but can someone verify that for me?
Yes, I can. Hold on a second. Let me pull it up. Here it is. Motion till the 22nd of April. Yep. Okay. Callie, I think you had also requested, and Teresa Sprague, I see you're on the line. Is it possible to get that request on a letterhead of the company so that it's not on an email?
I did. I got that from her.
Never mind. Thank you, Teresa. Okay.
So it would just be the decision today would be to allow this project to be heard and continued to April 22nd. And the submission for those materials would have to be no later than April 8th.
Are you wanting a motion to that effect?
Yep.
Yes. Yep.
So moved. Commissioner
Thank
Hall.
you. Second?
Kits, second.
Thank you. Roll call on the motion to continue to the 22nd of April. Ms. Holt?
Votes aye.
Mr. Kits?
Aye.
Mr. Rawls?
Aye.
Mr. Delvecchio?
Aye.
Mr. Clark?
I have to abstain because it was before my appointment.
Correct. Good catch. The chair votes aye, so it is 501. Motion passes.
Okay. Callie here, 271 Forest Beach Road. This was a recent violation for tree removal, vegetation removal, and regrading. So today I'm looking for, I issued an enforcement order to the homeowner. I put that in the mail last week, and they live in the UK, so they probably haven't received it yet. But I know I've been in contact with Bill Litchfield, who is representing the homeowner, who I think was on the line earlier today, earlier in the meeting. So basically, I arrived on site and there was a contractor. You can see the photos on the website and also on your Dropbox. I issued an enforcement order because the homeowner had a previous enforcement order, which to me meant that they acknowledged that their property was in the resource area and that they needed to seek permission. So today I'm looking for the commission to ratify the enforcement order and amend it if you so desire.
All right, thank you.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, Mr. Litchfield.
Good afternoon, Madam Chairman. Bill Litchfield. As if I could, as Callie has noted, the homeowners were unaware of this and in fact live in the UK. They were not aware of today's hearing and they very much regret the current situation. As I explained in an email to Callie earlier today, we obviously have ceased from any work. There was a lack of understanding. This is a 2016 order which included a mitigation area. They were not aware that the order had a 3-year term, or rather they thought the 3 years started when they finished the house and they had 3 years to do the mitigation. So Callie, I think, observed what she thought had been removal of mitigation, and it is my understanding the mitigation hadn't ever occurred. There's a 6,000 square foot meadow area, and that is going to go forward. I don't yet have any information on the trees that were removed, and that is regrettable to say the least, and we will look into that. So the only concern I have about the ratification is that erosion controls were supposed to be implemented by March 27th. That clearly hasn't happened. But we're going to get together with the engineer, the landscaper. The homeowner was planning on coming late March. His flight has been canceled by the airline for obvious reasons. So we're all operating under difficult circumstances, but we regret that this happened. And we will cooperate with the commission and Callie and try to rectify whatever went wrong.
It's my understanding that the 2016 order has expired, and in our office we didn't have any documentation of an extension. And furthermore, the mitigation plan that was associated with that order of conditions also did not, the trees, the large canopy trees that were there were cited on the plan to remain. So.
And I agree with Callie. I'm looking at that plan, and there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 large trees in the mitigation area that should have remained. So we're going to try to find out about it. We will find out what happened.
All right, thank you, Mr. Litchfield. As I look at the enforcement order, does require a restoration plan to be filed by April 28th. Are you is that a deadline that can be complied with?
I think that can be accomplished. What we will also be doing as soon as is physically feasible is, assuming this is an acceptable protocol, is file for an after-the-fact extension of the now expired order so that we can do the work, including the mitigation, that had not occurred.
We can't retroactively extend orders that have expired.
what would you suggest, Callie, as a means for going forward?
I think the means for going forward would be, there's two options. It's up to the commission. One is that they can file an after the fact notice of intent for that work, or you can, the restoration of the area can happen through the enforcement order.
All right, well, either will be fine. We can work out the details on that.
Okay.
I don't see a problem with April 28. My only concern is the March 27 deadline having been passed. And I may get back to the commission in the interim if the engineers and the landscaper and the landscape architect aren't able to file by the 28th, because you would need that file by the 28th and heard on May 13th. So we have 3.5 weeks in order to get that together. We'll make every effort to do that.
Okay, and do you know when is there somebody ready to do the erosion control work?
When Callie lets us know exactly what needs to be done, I will see that happens.
I think the only thing that needs to be done is a silt fence needs to be constructed so that none of that unconsolidated material that's now, like all of the vegetation has been ripped out, so it's pretty loose material. So there needs to be a silt fence between the resource area and that unconsolidated material.
Okay, I think if you can follow up with me after the commission, tomorrow or thereafter, and we'll undertake to get that done.
Okay.
I think my recommendation, Mr. Litchfield, is to continue to resolve this under the existing enforcement order, rather than filing something new. And as we go forward, we can file amendments that change particular aspects of it. So it's a lot easier than, okay. All right, then, with that, is there a motion to ratify the enforcement order?
This is Commissioner Holt. I have a question.
Oh, sorry, I skipped the questions. Are there questions and comments about the enforcement order?
Yeah, I'm wondering, has anyone contacted the landscaper? You can clearly see there's a wetland right there.
Yeah, when I received a complaint about this, and I went out on site, and the contractor was in the process of doing the work, and I told them to stop, and said that I would be issuing an enforcement order. So I had the same question myself. I think there was a miscommunication between the contractor, the homeowner, and what the person who is taking care of the property. So they are aware that they are working within 100 feet of a wetland, and they are now aware that they did not have a permit for that work.
In the past, we've sent, a formal letter, haven't we, to the landscaper saying that they need to check, that.
I did speak to the owner of the company and did tell him that. I'm happy to follow up with a letter, but we don't really have provisions in our regulations to find the contractor, and if that's where it will go. But I'm happy to send a letter if that's what the commission would like to do. But I have already spoken to the owner of the company.
This is Dee Dee again. I think it should be something in writing, and I know we have no authority to find a landscaper, but I think a letter is just more formal than a conversation, and might point to the seriousness of this. I mean, they need to check and not just do what they think they were told.
I would agree.
Yeah,
Okay.
this is Joe. This guy should know better. I mean, he's a Chatham contractor, for God's sake. Ask a question, call Callie. There's a million things they should have done before they did what they did.
Agreed.
Okay, I will, I'll put together that letter and I'll send it out to them, and I will, I'll CC Mr. Litchfield on that as well.
Excellent. All right. Other comments or questions?
Mr. Delvecchio here.
Yep.
Yeah, it looks like I went by the site myself, and it looks like they were trying to create a a view window as well by removing those larger trees. So I think they had an idea of what they were doing. And secondly, there is some debris that has been dumped over the bank, and that should be picked up as well when the silt fence is put in.
Oh, okay.
If when you follow up with me, Callie, as to what's required, I'll make sure that that is passed along.
Okay.
Okay. All right, any other questions or comments on this? Is there a motion to ratify the enforcement order?
Commissioner Holt, so moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Commissioner Clark seconds.
Thank you. Roll call for the motion to approve the enforcement order.
Madam
Ms. Holt.
Chairman, if I can interrupt, I'm terribly sorry. On that March 27 date, did you want to amend that in regard to the enforcement order?
We could.
Up to you. I'm just trying to be helpful. It's just.
Yeah, no, we could, but I think that as we move forward using the enforcement order as the vehicle for the restoration, we will be amending it from time to time as conditions change.
My apologies for interrupting.
No, that's fine. And it's a good question because does have a deadline that has been missed, but I think we'll be able to circle back and pick it up once we have a contractor who's doing the work on the silt fence. Okay. Roll call on the ratification of the order. Ms. Holt.
Votes aye.
Mr. Kitts? Oh, he got bumped again. He just texted. Okay. Mr. Rawls?
Aye.
Mr. Delvecchio?
Aye.
Mr. Clark?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 0, and 1 not voting. Motion passes.
Okay, is
And
there a
that takes
motion?
us to the end of our agenda. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Commissioner Holt, move adjournment.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Commissioner Rawls, I second that motion.
All right, roll call for adjournment. Ms. Holt.
Votes aye.
Mr. Kitts, are you back? Nope. Mr. Rawls?
Aye.
Mr. Delvecchio?
Aye.
Mr. Clark?
Aye, but I have a question for the chair.
Yes.
What happened to 15 Cove Hill Circle? Did I miss something?
No, we approved that one. That was second in our agenda today.
Boy.
That was a
Thank
vote
you.
5-0-0.
Yeah. Mr. Clark, are you voting aye to adjourn?
Yes, I'm aye to adjourn.
Thank you. Mr. Kitts, are you back? Nope. Chair votes aye to adjourn. The motion passes, except for Mr. Kitts, who has to, get back on and stay there all day. Adjournment at 4:21 p.m. We are adjourned.